What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds where it's the same year and you're the same person, but everything else is different? And what if you can't find your way home? Well, Robert Jeffries and I found the gateway. Now the problem is finding a way back home. This is Stumbling Through the Multiverse, a Sliders recap with Rain Coleman and Robert Jeffries II. What's up, y'all? We're back again with another podcast, with another broadcast. This is Stumbling Through the Multiverse, I'm calling it the official Sliders podcast review. I don't care what nobody else call it, but if you don't believe in yourself, who go believe in you? So this is the official Sliders 1995 review show. I am your co-host, Rain Coleman, the Carefree Black Nerd. And I have with me the master of ceremonies, the man with the master plan. What's up, Robert?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Just happy to be sliding through these recaps. I'm surprised it took like 4 or 5 episodes for me to actually say that. I should have been like day one. I should have been like putting sliding puns all across the first episode.
No, we could restructure the order of the episodes like Sliders does. So, hell.
Fox apparently didn't care. Peacock doesn't.
That is so wild to me. I'm still not over that. Like, especially with the openings and endings of these episodes. Like, even with this one, I'm like, what adventure did y'all go on before? So
do you want me to go ahead and tell you, or do you want to wait until next week?
I mean, I'm with whatever. But I was completely thrown off. I was like, this don't feel right.
So the 2 episodes that I said connected, this was the second of that pair, because the episode that is next on the Peacock viewing list is called Summer of Love. So that do we say dovetails? Right into the beginning of the episode that we watched this week.
How do you get that so wrong?
I have no idea. I don't know. And like I said, apologies on my part, because I thought it was going to be later in the season that they did that. But it just like when this started off, I was like, okay, well, this is the one. This is the only time that the episodes connect like that. It is the weirdest damn thing. Like for some reason they were like, let's do it with these two. And then but like what you've been asking for is like the way that, and you'll see it, the episode for Summer of Love, it ends with them in the Rembrandt and the dashiki and the robe and the hippie attire, and with them on the top of how this one opens up. So
oh my god, this is well, look, let's get to it. Y'all use the hashtag STTM pod, Stumbling Through the Multiverse. This is technically episode 5, officially, who knows? Prince of Wails. In pre-revolution United States, the Sliders come face to face with Arturo's double, a sheriff who is planning a royal assassination. Bruh. What? This was a lot. This was a whole hell of a lot. This whole episode was a lot for me. I there's some confusion that I'm hoping you will be able to explain.
Okay.
Because if it's not, either there is confusion or I just wasn't paying attention close enough. But I was like, something about this makes absolutely no sense. So I don't know. What's your general thoughts on?
So general thoughts. This is kind of like what was it? Fever. Yeah, Fever, where it feels like another filler for me. Okay. I like the alternate history side of things. And one performance in particular, I enjoy, and we'll get into that. But if you think about it, this kind of follows the same path as the pilot.
Okay.
And this is getting into like common ideas and themes that are used in multiple episodes, to the point where I'm just like, y'all really need, and like just and they do wacky stuff. They do like like wacky worlds where their things are completely like off the rails. But this is more of another, even though I like it, it is of the alternate history side of it. It seems like more of the same, especially coming off of that pilot. So it's like it's a middle of the road episode for me.
Okay. So. It was, I don't want to say confusing because I understood what's going on, but it was I don't know if I want to get, well, I'll mention it and I'll go into detail later. The romance subplot pisses me off, and I'm hoping it's because this is out of order, but this just pisses me off.
Yeah,
I'll leave it there for now. Ugh, gross. I just hate it.
Gross, God,
because it's so dumb. Like it, we had, but whatever. I'll wait. But that's my biggest gripe. Ugh.
So I'll jump into it. I'll slide into it. I'm not gonna make that a regular thing. So we start the episode off with the team, and there's climbing something, and you don't see it immediately like what it is. It actually, let's just say it's a building. So they're climbing something, and Rembrandt is complaining as usual. The other thing that you notice is that everybody is wearing like 70s attire. So that's something that's different. So I think the camera pulls back at a certain point, and you see them like at the top of like a skyscraper, like they're like barely kind of hanging on, and all around them the San Francisco is flooded. So it's just like, especially with how we're watching the series, and if you don't have any context for the previous episode, this is weird. Like this is very strange, and this and this is an example of, failing. Maybe like the episodes aren't, they're not picking up exactly where the previous episode picked up, but in this case it did. So we had a whole talk. Sorry, we just talked about that. But San Francisco has been flooded. You see the water up to like the top of the Golden Gate Bridge in the background, and the other thing is like everybody is complaining. Everybody, actually, it's not just Rembrandt. Everybody is upset and angry, and because they have slid to a world where they may die. And one of the things that I love that comes out of the conversation is the professor says, "Wherever we go, we are not going to do anything. We are just going to chill." And the funny thing is, we were just talking about this last week, or the last episode, where we were like, it would be great if they went and sat and didn't get involved in any BS. And so to kind of see that, see the professor saying that exactly, which was really cool. The other thing I did like about the scene is that I didn't like that Rembrandt kept going after Quinn, but Quinn was clapping back.
He was.
Quinn said, he's like, "Are you going to bring this up every world that we go to?" And he's like, because you kind of tell like he's tired of it. Like Rembrandt, I think, even says something to the effect of like, "Why couldn't you have pointed that portal up and sucked your mom into this instead of like me with my adoring fans or whatever?" So before we get to the credits, basically Wade sees that there's this gigantic CGI 1995 CGI shark just going around. And so they're worried that the shark is going to like eat them, and the timer goes off. I think they only have like, I think they said like maybe a few minutes or seconds or whatever. And each of the sliders kind of creeps over on the edge of the building to jump into the portal, and then they're taken to the next world. So the only because this might have been very jarring for you, I want your thoughts on this, because okay, like what were you how are you thinking, or like what were your thoughts?
I was irritated because in this, I knew I was going to feel this way with the show, because I wanted to know what happened. I was like, this,
Yeah.
as annoyed as I am, this seems interesting. Like the cannibal thing from was the end of the second episode. It's like, don't give us a sneak peek into a world that you're not going to give us the world, even if you do it poorly. But apparently I'm going to see it. But yeah, I was annoyed. And I was like, what the hell? And so, but it also got me to thinking, like, yes, what if someone can't swim and you're just jumping through these worlds and you get to a place like this? Y'all almost died of hypothermia in the first episode. Then we got this water world. Then we got the so, like, everything is so terrible all the time. It just made me think about the logistics of sliding and what that means, where you land and whatnot. But I honestly, I did enjoy the opening, but I was pissed because I thought that this was just an interesting world that we'll never see again.
Yep.
Really, we will.
That's it. That's you know, the and this is one of the quote unquote wacky worlds, like, you know, where things are just so effed up. It's not like, oh, we went to a world where France won the, I don't know, like, you know, whatever. Like, you know, they it's something that is very drastic. And like I said, we do get those sometimes to the show's detriment, because I think, like, I ask for stuff, and then when it happens, I'm like, okay, this is goofy as fuck. And then I'm like, some episodes, it just depends on how it's handled, you know, basically. So they slide to, I call it Monarchy World, and we'll get into, you know, we'll get into, you know, why, you know, that it has a title. But they slide into, it's funny you mentioned, like, the logistics of sliding and where they land, and they land in the middle of like a public fountain, which actually I like. It's like, you know, them sliding into like the middle of like a very public space, and everybody is just like doused with water. And then of course they show Rembrandt, and he sees a statue of a fish, and he starts yelling, like he's like, yeah, you know, just like, I'm not even going to imitate it. So and he's, you know, it's a lot of like over the top. So they try to get in, you know, kind of get low key because people are looking at them now. But there's a reason why. It's not just because they appeared out of nowhere and fell into this fountain. So this is the second time this happens this season. Wade steps out into the front of a car that is just that is hurtling towards her, and then I think Quinn saves her, you know, in the nick of time. And this guy comes out, and he's speaking like in a, like, he's, I guess it's a British accent. And the car actually is styled like a British taxi, or like I think it's supposed to be like kind of, you know, shaped like that. And he gets out, and he is just like letting Wade have it. Like, he's very, he looks stuck up, pretentious, and he says something, I can't remember the exact word, but he's pissed off. And then when he sees the professor, his whole vibe changes, his whole mood changes. And when he sees that they're all together, he starts to apologize. And, you know, the professor is like, well, you know, it's okay. And the guy actually says, you know, my apologies. Let me give you our not presidential suite, but like a royal suite at the hotel. And I like that little kind of tidbit, because we'd have no presidents in this world. You know, it's just all royalty. And, you know, the professor says, well, we can't afford that. And then the guy just starts laughing, like maniacally, like he's like losing his shit, because he's just trying to, you know, make a good impression. So they take him up into this like very nice hotel room, you know, like I said, the royal suite. And the guy's like, whatever you guys want. And I think there's a valet, not a valet, but, you know, he has the help with them, the employees. And, you know, the professor says, well, can you get us a, you know, change of clothes? Can you give us something, you know, can we order some food? And then the guy says something which is weird. He says, serving you makes my life worthwhile. And it's just like, it is the weirdest thing. So apparently, like, the professor's double is a big thing in this world. So the professor starts reading, of course they, going through the newspaper, and this is another strange part, and I guess maybe it's character development, but when they show them with the new clothes, Quinn is reading, everybody's reading the newspaper, and on this world, apparently the Americans lost the Revolutionary War. They just lost, and this is now I guess it's a colony, but they call this part of the world, or the British Empire, the British States of America. So this country is heavily influenced, by the monarchy. It's ruled by the monarchy, and it's very obviously British. I think we even see like some of those telephone booths in the back, like the good ones, and we see some bobbies and all of that. And one of the things that the sheriff keeps saying, the professor keeps saying is like, let's keep a low profile. And when they turn the TV on, he is on TV as the sheriff of San Francisco. And he's just like, I think he's second in the line of ruling, at least this part of America, to this guy named Prince Harold, who we'll get to later. And one of the things, though, that I notice is that Quinn, as he's reading the newspaper, he's like anti-monarchy. Like it's like this weird thing that pops up later on, and it kind of still ties into this whole thing of them trying not to involve themselves, because the professor says, all they need is a young, precocious, democracy-loving lad to bring them. And he's basically saying, like, calm down. As soon as they see the double on TV, they decide to leave. But Wade is like, "Hey, let's cash in." So the professor calls down. He tells the place to give them all the money in their register, give them a car, a bunch of food, and let's roll. But see, like we'll talk about it, and then they leave. So like that whole, what were your thoughts,
bruh? This was wild. I'll say this: at the beginning, when everybody kept bowing to them and calling and saying "sir," this and that, I assumed that they were doing it to Rembrandt, and I think because he's black, my mind went to whatever world this is. He's in, because that was just my first thought. If they had to say ma'am, of course it would have been Wade. But like my thought was Rembrandt. I said, okay, well, there's something going on, maybe with his attire or something. Then we get here. Now, I was going to be annoyed, but when they were getting yelled at by the dude with the car, I was thinking, okay, this makes to me the most sense to get them. They already said we got to be here for 6 days. This makes the most sense to get them somewhere off the street, even if we don't spend the rest of the episode on the street. In our mind, you've established they have a place to stay. I think they're still moving kind of odd, weird when they go to different worlds. Because even aside from the keeping a low profile, I don't know, something about the like, give me a car full of cheese and all the money for your. I was like, this feels like you're being. I guess my thought, and I may be thinking too logically or too 2024, but I'm thinking if I go to a world where I have a double, even if I realize I have one and he's in power, is this not an odd request that I'm making? Like, I don't know if there's a trigger. I don't know. Maybe I would just be a little bit more apprehensive. But I did enjoy the scenes overall. It just felt like an excuse to give them a place to land, to switch clothes, and then to move on with the rest of the story, which is fine. I'm not mad at that, but I don't know. Oh, this is my big issue, which is so stupid. Wade is wearing heels. In my mind, and this is my problem with comic books too, so this ain't even just this show. When a woman has on heels, and if it's not a comic where this woman can fly or got super strength, I'm pissed off. Why are you in heels? Put on some boots, because we don't know what we gonna run into. And I'm thinking like, yeah, you got the little nice secretary dress on or whatever. Man, put on some boots. So I don't know. That's a personal thing. It ain't even just the show, but that pisses me off. I ain't trying to speak for the ladies, but that just makes no sense to me. But yeah, no, that's it. That's all I got.
No, that's the what is that? Like the early '90s, where,
yes,
and I guess now, but especially during the '90s,
mm-hmm.
the guys would have like the flattest boots or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
with the costumes, and then the women would be wearing these like damn stilettos, and I was like, y'all
Right.
gotta like stop doing the women like that.
Doesn't
And
make
um,
sense.
the funny thing is we spoke about, especially, and I think in Fever,
Mm-hmm.
where we were joking about them, and it's funny because I think this episode actually addresses a few things that we've
Mm-hmm.
spoken about. The money, because
Yeah.
I think Rembrandt was probably just spending all the money that he still had left from Earth Prime on like those like tasteless ass burgers, and then
Mm.
also and then for the motel, and then the just staying put.
Yeah.
The professor is very adamant about that, and I think the reason I like that he was like, let's just get the money because they're going to
Mm-hmm.
be on this world for like 6 days. And I
Yeah.
think that their plan was to just go somewhere and just chill. Like if things hadn't gone the way that they did, I think they just would have been chilling out in that car.
Yeah.
Like they would have found a
Yeah.
place like isolated away from everybody, and it would have worked out. But because this is Sliders, they ran into Robin Hood. So the next scene is them on the road. We see them driving. The professor, the car breaks down. So that's the big thing. So the car eventually breaks down, and as everybody else is pushing, the professor is reading up on the history of this world. And one of the other things that they find out is that George Washington was murdered it's not murdered, was not assassinated, executed. He was
Yeah.
executed as a traitor to like the British crown. And basically because of, and this is kind of a weird domino effect, but
Mm-hmm.
because the American Revolution never happened, there was no French Revolution, there was no Russian Revolution, there
Which,
was no Chinese Revolution. And it goes back to this thing of like America being at the forefront of just like everything. And it's just like, okay, y'all,
yeah.
let's get behind that. And then I think Wade even says, like, what about the sexual revolution? And it's
Mm-hmm.
just, but just kind of adding more, giving more background to this world. So as they're talking about, all this, the back history and the monarchy and being in ruling over the United States, the army walks up. It's like this. It's like,
Nigga.
and
Bro.
you see this group of soldiers, and I think they're actually deputies, to be honest, because
Mm-hmm.
now that I think about it, because the guy who's leading the group is, and we talked about this before, them using the actors from previous episodes,
Mm-hmm.
is the nerdy, the douchey boss
Yeah.
from the first episode,
Mm-hmm.
Michael. So in this world, I think he's like a lead deputy or whatever. And when he sees Arturo, he thinks that he's talking to the sheriff, and he starts kind of talking cryptically about um, the why he thinks it's strange that the sheriff is there, and he's like, are you here to oversee the operation? And Arturo, at least in this case, as compared to like the first one when he was supposedly the Russian guy, he plays it off a little bit better. He's like, no, we're he said, go ahead and do what you're going to do and this and that. But what comes out of the conversation is that it sounds as if they're there to the soldiers or the deputies are there to kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I do love is that the professor is like, it ain't our business. Let's go.
Bruh.
He's like, I'm not messing with this. But so they're there to kill someone. The other thing that actually came out of before this conversation was that this wooded area where they're at is actually supposed to be downtown Oakland, which I think is pretty interesting. Because and it's funny because when the soldiers walk up, they tell, I don't think it's specifically Rembrandt, but they tell the group to like stand, basically like they're talking to him like cops, and then Rembrandt says, yeah, this is downtown Oakland. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And the next scene is them going into the forest. We show Prince Harold. We see this guy hunting, and then the sliders like drag him down to the ground while the professor, as a sheriff, goes to talk to the soldiers and basically lead them away. And the big reveal with this is that this is the guy that they've saved is named Prince Harold, and I think he's like third in line
for the
for the
American
crown.
crown. Yeah.
For the American, for the American crown. So once again, the sliders have gotten involved in something like Cheney. So those couple of scenes, anything that jumps out to you about it? Or
this is so silly. One,
yeah.
why are we here? Why is the car here in these woods? Like, I mean, well, but I guess I get if you're going to hide away for 6 days, sure. All of the gossip mag stuff that was, I was trying to think about what were tabloids like in 95 in like prime, like us, real world. And I was thinking like that, what I did like that element of Wade pretty much informing us about the prince before we met him, about how freaky he is. He only like, which if you 25 or 60, he don't like no. It was like all of this
25 or over 60.
Like, this is a freaky ass boy. But I like that. I in my mind didn't register that was going to come up again, but I like that backstory that we got about him through just her reading headlines. And again, I was just considering tabloids and there was at a grocery store, there were all the soap opera magazines, there was the Archie Digest, and there were like a shit ton of tabloids. That's what I remember growing up. And so I was kind of trying to make that connection between the two. I think this was done well. I think this was done well. I'm with the professor, like, fuck it, let's leave this alone. I mean, there would be no show if they did, but like, they're gonna do me. I am interested because of this specifically. I'm interested in seeing them go to a world, still have a full fun episode, but not make substantial life-altering changes for the world. I'm waiting for that episode. But all in all, I enjoyed it. The only thing that had me, I don't even want to say concerned, but that was in the back of my head was when is Race going to come up? And Race did not. And not that it's needed for every episode, you know, I don't need that, but looking at Rembrandt and where he exists in this group and like this very authoritarian government conglomerate owned world that we're in, and like black folks' relation to like police and whatnot, I was like, well, I'm not heartbroken that it wasn't included, but it would have been nice to be like, nigga, how did because we got like musical references, which is good, but I don't know.
I mean, and that's we'll get to that later on. That's a really good point. It's like you have these little moments where, and it's like jokingly, Rembrandt will bring up race. Like you remember we had the joke about when in Fever when he was talking about playing to like a Colorado crowd and they were offbeat. And then we have in this one, he's joking about, even though it's not like a laugh, funny thing, but he's talking about how like, this is just like Oakland, with the police there. So, I will say going through this is like with this podcast is reinforcing like my is sometimes dismay with how he was handled. And I do think, like you said, every episode doesn't have to be the message. Did you get the message? That type of thing. But it's just like we gotta acknowledge it. Like, especially with the British Empire's history, going to like black and brown continents and countries and just like effing everybody over. Like in this world, did that just continue? That, and that type of thing. So and the only it's not even a reference, like they keep calling him brother,
that was also
it was like odd, the Raiders, but we'll get to the mention of the Oakland Raiders. So so we get back to the forest. they're heading back to the car because the group has saved Prince Harold. The funny thing is Prince Harold just keeps calling. He thinks that even though the professor has told him, "I'm not your sheriff," he thinks that they're playing some game or whatever. And the professor's he's getting frustrated, but his plan is like, let's just drop him off because now he's safe, and then we can just wash our hands of this whole thing. And so they get back to the car, and the car has been stripped. Like, I think the wheels have been taken off. I don't know. I think the door has been taken off.
Yes, they stripped the hell out of that
everything.
car.
Yeah. So, and I'm surprised. Anyways, but yeah, they can't they can't drive away. And just as they're kind of talking about this, this resistance group, just like in the first episode, we have kind of a similar group. They surround them with crossbows. So they are really leaning into especially because of what happens later on with the Robin Hood and the Merry Men type of deal. So they're led by this lady named Rebecca, who when they see, they're questioning basically this group, the sliders, and saying, "Why are you here? This is not the best place to be." And then Quinn decides to come up with this plan and says, "Look, there's the prince and the sheriff. We brought them to you." And it's just like, so this is how they get out of this situation. This is how he thinks they're going to get out of this situation. He knows nothing about this group, who are called the Oakland Raiders, which is, it is what it is, wacky. Quinn knows nothing about this group. He doesn't know if they're rational. He doesn't know if they just kind of shoot you in the head and just leave you for dead, or if they're going to be, like I said, or be rational and be like, let's talk this out and see what. But for the sake of this episode, they are rational. But they take the professor and Prince Harold into custody, and then we cut forward to at the hideout, the Raiders hideout, and once again Quinn is trying to convince the terrorists that don't kill the duo. He's like, don't kill this group. Like I said, everybody's carrying around and the crossbows. Nobody is believing. They feel that they've gotten this big victory because they have two important members of the monarchy. I do there's a scene with Wade comes in where Prince Harold and the professor are being, once again, going back and forth because Prince Harold is like, "How are we going to get out of this, Sheriff?" And the professor is like, you could tell he's just pissed because he kept telling everybody, "Let's just chill." And then Quinn was like, "No, let's just get further involved in this shit." And I think, like I said, that scene ends with Quinn still trying to convince the terrorists not to kill the duo. And actually that's what happens. He puts out this idea of let's ransom them, so you can get what you want from the from the monarchy or whatever. Because the next scene is we now see this world's professor as the sheriff at the TV show. So I actually like the professor in this one, getting to play his double, because this is I think the first time in a while that we've actually seen another douchey version of one of the group members. And he is, and not even douchey, he's sadistic. He's doing this TV show. Think of it like if it was this world's Fox News. And he does this thing where he brings on people to citizens to ask them questions and have a talk back and forth with the citizens of the world. And of course, the first lady that comes on there, she's on his side and she's complimenting him and saying the prince gives you a hard time. And and the professor's like, the sheriff is like, "Hey, let's not talk about him like that." And then the second guy that comes on there is basically arguing for against. He's like, taxation without representation is a problem. And then what happens is they cue up the boos and the hisses from this like non-existent crowd, and the sheriff is like making his face like, well, that's all we got for today, folks. And this whole thing. And as he goes to the back, his producer, the slimy like Hollywood type, comes over and he's talking about how the numbers statistics are showing like you're rising up in the ratings with like middle-aged white guys. I was like, y'all are so on point. And he said, I think he said like white women between the ages of like 35 to 69 or something.
Something like that,
yeah. Yeah, that type of thing. So, but what happens is the Michael, the deputy or that comes in, and he basically tells from their conversation, he lets the sheriff know that he followed his orders of leaving the prince alive. And then the sheriff looks at him and says, like, you didn't kill him. And what I think is, and he's just like, and even before this, he says something like, when they're talking about the viewership and how some people are, you have some dissenters within his viewers. He tells the producer, he's like, why don't we just kill them? And I was like, oh God. So there's that. And then he basically admits, and what I love is the fact that apparently everybody in the studio is in on this because he is not whispering at all.
Oh, no, he's loud.
Like, I think the producer knows about this. And he tells him, if you don't go back and kill burn that, basically that's what it is. If you don't, and they get the facts about, that's what it is. They get a fax with the demands from the Oakland Raiders, and that's how it brings up the conversation about the him letting the prince stay alive. He basically tells him to go back, burn that forest to the ground, and bring Prince Harold's head back on a platter. And so that's our introduction to the sheriff of I think of San Francisco.
Nottingham.
Nottingham. So like what were your thoughts about like kind of this whole thing?
He's evil. This is Lex Luthor. This is full figure Lex Luthor. That's what this is. And I enjoyed him. I truly enjoyed him. I think again, going back to the version of the professor from the Soviet world, we didn't get him. Did we get like a quick scene? Like we didn't get him. We got
get him, no.
Okay, so it was good. That's one thing that I was looking forward to with this show, is seeing the different versions of themselves: timid, evil, happy, whatever. So that was done well. The resistance group, not so much. It was lackluster because even if we're just comparing them to the resistance groups from before, like at the Soviet place, and even the sick people from Fever, they didn't stand out to me. Like if I'm just looking objectively at the group itself, boring. This is, and I don't know if this is too early to bring it up, but no, I think it is. My issue is with Quinn with this group. That's my issue. So I'll leave that there and maybe it'll come back up. But this group is boring. They suck. They're like I don't feel threatened. Fuck them. Like they got a cage, sure, that's great. But the prince also pissed me off a lot because what are you doing? I get the privilege that allows you to be so aloof. But even when he first showed up and he was hunting in the woods, my thought was, why is he alone? Like you're the prince. You don't have any bodyguards. Even if they're there, just to hang back. Like why was it so easy to capture you? Because they never said Oakland was like royal territory where we only wealthy blue blood people can hunt for ducks or whatever. Like they was just like, yeah, we're just in Oakland. So I don't know, man. That's little nitpicky stuff. But overall, Arturo, sheriff, chef's kiss. Easily one of my, a good villain. I'll say that. He's a good villain.
Yeah, I enjoyed him. He that was the thing I appreciated, because even though it's like you have him in a authority, like he's an authority figure who has some type of power. I told you the only time that you get to encounter the professor or experience him like that with the Russian world is in the novel. And most people not picking up the novelization of Sliders, like except like what, like 13-year-old Robert Jeffrey or whatever, 14. But so it was good to see him kind of flex his, his acting muscles with this. So we go back to the Raider headquarters. Wade lets Harold know. He basically tells him that your sheriff is setting you up by helping to basically, the Prince Harold told Wade that the sheriff would tell him, don't give this news any type of satisfaction, just let people say what they want to say. And what it is, it's harming him, like his PR, amongst the people. So he's seen as, like you said, being aloof, being a deviant, which is like according to according to the tabloids. And what Wade tells him is, and I think this is when she convinces him that the sheriff, doesn't have your best interest at heart, was that who is next in line if you die? And then he says the sheriff, and I was like, oh, so that's when he realizes, that things aren't, how they should be. But that I keep coming back to bandanas. I don't know. Like I keep putting that.
Where did they get the?
So anyway, Remy is once again still acting scared. I think I noticed that there was like 3 black guys within the Oakland Raiders. So the big thing is the demands are refused. And the thing I respect about Rebecca is like, oh, okay, time to die, and she just did. The leader is like, oh, okay, so they don't think we serious, right? So she's the only one in this place with a gun.
Yeah,
and everybody else has crossbows. And she says, "I got 2 bullets." That's it. So she goes into the room, and then Quinn. I have to tell you right now. Well, no, we'll get to that. But Quinn, he's like, oh, in his mind, like what I think he's thinking is like, damn, this is not a good idea. And so because these people have probably killed before. These are some killers. So so he sees it, and then he goes and turns on the TV, and it's a group of people. All the people are surrounding Prince Harold and the professor. And I think like they even have somebody holding up a newspaper to show the date, like, so we can prove that once they die, you're going to show this, like, show the date. But then Quinn gets an idea. There's a TV, and he turns it on, or he turns to the channel, and their sheriff is on TV and says that this is. And so my immediate question would have been like, so why did you lie to us? Because you just proved that this guy is not who you said he was. But because I didn't write this episode or co-write this episode or wasn't in the writer's room, the next thing that comes out of the mouth of some of these people are like, let them talk. And he's like, do you guys want to be like in Northern Ireland? And of course somebody says Northern Ireland. And so Quinn is just like, I got to think of every patriotic slogan or like, he basically starts saying all of these kind of rallying cries, and I thought he was at one point going to say Papa was a Rolling Stone.
I mean, might as well.
Or YOLO. But he's saying like a lot of shit, and then one guy said, some people say like, what are you talking about? And they keep coming back to the same guy. He was like, let him talk. He's making sense. And I think he's like, whatever. I can't even remember exactly what he says. And whatever he says gets them to the point of like, basically he's telling them like, you have to rob from the rich and give to the poor. And so that's when we get this whole thing of like, rally, become, the people, the movement that the people will follow. And that's what he says. And he says power to the people. And he says power to the people. And then it comes to the commercial. I
hate this.
I'm gonna let you
give
your thoughts on this, because things get even more ridiculous after
this. Quinn is annoying. Quinn is the villain.
We keep saying this.
But I mean, he's still a kid. What is he, like 21 maybe ish?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm sorry, that excuse only goes so damn far.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
I tried. He sucks. He sucks. This is dumb. This is very stupid. And I hate to say it, but this proves what Rembrandt been saying. Yeah, you don't control where we go, but you are an idiot. You keep getting women killed. You're not because you are conventionally attractive and you hold the slider machine. It's like we're looking past the shit that you're doing. You are the problem. Nobody else here. The professor's evil version is the problem, sure, but the professor ain't. He made penicillin. He tried to stop the atomic bomb. Like he's been, and even with Wade, like yeah, she's kissing people all the damn time, almost getting hit by cars. But like, as irritating as that is, she's not killing people. Quinn is a villain, and he is so annoying. Like this, I was so irritated by both Quinn and the group. Like, well, y'all are Billy Badass. Y'all came out swinging in the first frame. Why have you not at least shot one of these people, one of these royals? Like, I'm not wound them or something. I was like, he's not even the writing. It felt dumb.
Yeah.
When you could have given him an actual rallying speech. Like I guess my problem is what was the reason for the catchphrases and sayings? He is American. Like he's a college educated man. You have things you can say. Like
because I think it ties into like his ineptness. That was the thing. Like he was like, and so for somebody who doesn't like, basically when he realized that Rebecca was about to put 2 bullets, he was just like, oh, okay, well, let's keep winging it. And I think it also ties into like the humor, because like if this was a more serious show, I don't think that you would have somebody given like catchphrases like that.
Yeah.
And I think, and that because it's like, it's the wordplay. It's like, like we're sitting here laughing because he says power to the people. And they're like, what are you talking about? So that type of thing. But I also do like that it does tie, once again, it ties into him being inept. Like his whole plan was like, let's have these people kidnapped by a possibly terrorist organization that you know nothing about. So I don't know. Like I hate to say this, I did not like him in this episode.
He sucks.
It was some goofy shit, and yeah, he should have. I mean, like he was just as bad as Rembrandt trying to toss in James Brown.
Man,
he should. I don't know. So anyway, so the next scene is. And this music is killing me. It's not just because it's from the 90s. Like, there's some good ass music from the 90s, but it's just like stock music that they played twice in this episode. And I'm not even gonna like try to butcher it by like trying to do the beat, but they do this thing of they're showing the crime spree. And the other thing that we talked about is that they have such a huge effect on these worlds that they visit. So like, were the Oakland Raiders not doing shit before y'all showed up? Because now that Quinn like told them about a book called Robin Hood, they're going out and robbing the rich. I think they show them like knocking off a rich couple in a limousine or whatever, and they take the pearls and they're holding crossbows on them. I just can't take that seriously. And they're holding crossbows on them, and the rich people are like, oh, clutch the pearls that are non-existent. And then I think the next shot is Wade and Quinn and Rebecca. They're robbing along with a group of Oakland Raiders. They're robbing like a
armor truck.
Armor truck. Yeah, I was like, a truck, a big ass truck. No, an armor truck. Like my memory shot the hell, y'all. So like an armor truck. And then Rebecca leans in and kisses him. And the way that this thing is going, it's like, I don't know, like slow motion or sped up.
Both.
And it's like both. And it's like the bad music is playing in the background, and then it like crescendos at the end of it. And they cut to it was actually, I forgot. I thought Quinn might say something like dynamite at the back at the Oakland Raiders place. So because he just didn't know what the fuck he was talking about.
Right.
So they so that's there in the streets. And so then we cut back to the sheriff show. and the sheriff is giving, like, he's talking about like the rise in crime and how, you know, he's going to keep everybody safe and, you know, and all this. But when the and he also mentions the war in France, so that's another kind of the world building thing that they're doing. But he's preaching the greatness of the British States of America, but then also that they will capture Quinn and the Raiders, you know, sometime soon. So like Quinn has gone from being, he is now enemy number one. So how many days has this been going on?
Okay, this is where my issue came in. I said either I wasn't really paying attention. How did he become like what happened? Like, am I missing something?
No, you're not. This is again. You can't. It's the passage of time. Like the reason I think they will extend these the you know, from days to like weeks or whatever. It would have been good if they just said we have 2 weeks, because that would have given his notoriety a chance to grow, because literally, like, we probably only had, let's say, 2 days of them going ham and just stealing from the rich, and now he's public enemy number one.
And just him.
it's like, right. They're focusing. They're not focusing on Rebecca. If I was Rebecca, I would have been like, what the fuck have I been doing? It's just like, I've been killing British like royals left and right,
man.
You know, and so that it's just like this thing of, and I know the joke is we should have stayed like low key, but now he's just public enemy number one. So so the next thing we see are the Raiders. They're back at the headquarters. Prince Harold is flirting with Wade because, you know, romance. He asked her on a date, and Wade is like very flippant, which is really kind of weird. She's just like, nah, we're gonna be leaving, so, you know, he's like, don't get all mushy on me, Harold. And Harold's like, okay. And then I think she says something like, I really value you as a friend. And I'm like, 3 days, right?
Y'all are not friends.
Y'all are not friends. And Harold, and so, but because they gotta put this like love triangle thing in there. So what's funny is, like, so when Wade leaves there, apparently Quinn had overheard the conversation, and he says something like, he's got it bad, and he's like sitting there trying to look cool, drinking like a cup of tea. And then she says something like, well, what about you and Rebecca? And then Quinn's like, Rebecca has a girlfriend, has a boyfriend in jail. I don't want to get between that. And I'm like, what is going on?
This is so dumb.
Right. Like, we don't need the love triangle
at all.
At all. This is not the episode from that. So so the other thing that comes out of this is that Wade had asked one of the guards to loosen the prince's like his rope, his handcuffs, or like his bindings or whatever. And so I think we cut to like a little bit later on, and somebody says the prince has escaped. So kudos to Harold. Harold was just like, I ain't fucking with y'all. He said, I've seen Rebecca. Quinn, not so much, but I've seen Rebecca.
Barrel her gun.
Rebecca, he said, Rebecca got the only gun in this place.
In this world.
In this world. So he apparently has escaped, and then, you know, they turn on Wade. He's like, who gave the order for him to, you know, for him to be released, or the bonds? And then, you know, Quinn, because Quinn is a hero, the Quinn says, I'll go out and find him. So we got to the streets, the mean streets of San Francisco, British San Francisco, and we see Harold. And once again, this is the other place where the music is horrible. And the prince is walking around, and he's like homeless people, the unhoused. Oh God. Oh, clutch my imaginary pearls. And he's like, he's seeing the realness. And so what happens in the background, this is actually what I do like about this goofy ass scene, is like, you see he's walking through like this kind of unhoused camp, like, you know, it's just a lot of people who are just like, down this, like it's just a bad situation. And as he's having this moment of realization, in the background behind this fence, you see Quinn like trying to look inconspicuous, and then all of a sudden, all the soldiers from the previous scene, I'm just going to say it because I don't think we got new actors, came and arrest him. But Quinn is yelling, like it's this weird, like over the top yelling, and they slam him against the fence and then drag him to jail. And then the prince sees this and just goes the other way.
Oh, he said, "Fuck that."
He said, "Fuck that." He said, "My life is worth living." So what were your thoughts about like
this
the
is
love
so
triangle to here?
stupid. This is so dumb. I know they needed him to get out, but the way he escaped, and I'm not saying that the prince can't be like savvy, but like the sliders caught you with a gun in your hand. Like you not that like
that's smart.
And wealthy or not, yes, they don't have the internet like we do, but how do you not see? Not see? No, how do you not see all of these?
Yeah.
Like the state of the world. Like it just they had him playing like, let's say, a 25-year-old's body, but the mind of like a wealthy 6-year-old. And I was like, this doesn't match. And it's also like, even with his attraction to Wade, it's still like, okay, she is cute, sure, but like, what is going on? Like, or and maybe royalty works different in this world, but like, you're next in. It was the whole. He's weird. He's weird. The way they depict him is weird. All of that. The homeless camp and Queen being arrested, like that. All of this felt like a lot of the episodes to me. If you gave them a little bit more budget and make them into movies, they would just work so much better.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot going on.
They're compressing a lot, and I'm very tempted to go back and probably watch a couple of episodes of like other sci-fi and maybe just TV shows from then, because I think there still are shows nowadays that have like it's not like once we hit the 2010s or like after the golden era of the 2000s, like like The Sopranos and The Wire, like everybody. That's when people were like, we're doing better paced TV. I'm pretty sure there were shows back in the day that when we were growing up kind of use that small amount of time to tell a solid story. So I'm never going to say that when TV, as the years progressed, TV got better, just because it got serialized. But with this show, they doing the most. They do so much with just compressing a lot of shit into. Is it 40 minutes?
Is it? Yeah, sure. I'm gonna say but like
I think it's like 40 minutes. Yeah,
in 4 storylines in that time.
And it's just gonna stay like that. But so the next scene is we go to the sheriff show. He's actually not in the studio. He's at the prison or the jailhouse where Quinn is being held. So we see he's holding a press conference where it's announced that Quinn has been arrested, and then he's being held at the prison. And then one of the reporters says, so will there be an execution? And the professor's like, oh, yeah. I mean, the sheriff is like, oh, yeah. And then he says, oh, but then we're going to have a trial. And then the execution. And I was just like, God.
What?
So, and so then we cut back to I'm trying. They cut back to the Raiders' place, and Rebecca's like, "Let's just burn this shit down, y'all." He was like, "Quinn is gonna be our martyr. We just gonna burn this bitch down with him inside." Right. And then Rembrandt is like, and the funny thing is, it's not funny. I hate this. I hate this. Rembrandt says something like, he says something. I can't remember, but whatever he says. Rebecca responds to him like, well, brother, if you don't want to fight this fight, I will. And I'm just like, okay. I think she says she calls him little brother.
Yeah.
And once again, the guy looks like your dad.
Right. Rebecca's 40 years younger than him. Like, what do you mean?
But it's this whole thing of like, once again, Rembrandt is not talked down to, but he's not willing to like ride like Rebecca is or whatever. I don't know. I just didn't like that. And I said he looked like a dock worker because they have them all wearing these like outfits. But I think who comes up with the plan? Is it the professor?
Yeah, he says he can get him out, without violence.
Yeah, so without any violence, because that's the big thing that they keep saying is that we want this Rebecca's like, we gonna let this blood run. And the professor's like, let's do it without any bloodshed. So we go back to the jail and an electric chair. They show the electric chair, and I don't know if you notice that when they go to the jail, I think this comes afterwards. They do it in this like news like live news footage, documentary style of thing, which I actually kind of appreciated because it was something different. Especially when they're showing like Quinn being walked to the electric chair. So the sheriff is getting ready for the execution. I think they're putting makeup on for him to, I guess, go back on TV. And we cut to the TV station where he isn't at, and the Raiders take over the station. And so the professor's plan is to have Prince Harold go on live TV, basically pardon Quinn and refute everything that the sheriff is saying, but then also to accuse the sheriff of basically being the bad guy that he is. But then also they want to use this time for Prince Harold to give the Bill of Rights to the to the world.
Sure.
And so and introduce the concept of democracy. So so we go back to the jail. This is when you get the footage of Quinn being walked in this like documentary, like news style to the to the electric chair. And we have we come back to the studio, and I think this is where we start having the professor, Rembrandt, and Wade giving like the different amendments. I think that's the Constitution, whatever. And the what is it like? Rembrandt is throwing in nobody should be discriminated against because of their musical preference. And I'm like, why do they have this brother keep coming back to? It was like, oh, because he's a musician. So is what it is. And it's funny, they refer to themselves as the founding fathers of democracy on this world. Harold then breaks into the execution coverage, and that's when he starts laying out what the sheriff has been doing, and that he should be arrested and Quinn should be pardoned. And then he starts giving I don't know if he starts giving the Bill of Rights online. And then they cut back to the jail, and Michael, the deputy, is just like, I can't believe this is happening. And then Quinn is like, get me out of here, because he realizes that he has to get back to the team, to the squad.
They could have just killed this nigga. Like, what you?
Rebecca would have done it.
Yeah,
she would have done it. So, and then at the nick of time, he gets back to where the Fab Four are, and the Fab Three, or the rest of the group is, along with the Oakland Raiders. And I'm like, y'all could still be arrested. And so Quinn gets there, and the thing that I noticed is that Wade starts kind of berating him. Like, it took you long enough. And I was like, he was about to die. He was about to die. And and they use this moment to wrap everything up. Basically, Wade, the portal opens up, and it stays open for like a long ass time.
Man, say.
And the professor has enough time to say something. The reason the sun doesn't set on the British Empire is because God doesn't trust the British in the dark, which I actually like that. But he has enough time to say that to Prince Harold and to say, like, something like, run this country better than before. And then Rembrandt gives him the opening of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution, along with some stupid shit we'll get to. And so Professor Rembrandt, Wade has a moment with Prince Harold. Wait, no, first Quinn has a moment with Rebecca, and Rebecca says, "Will I ever see you again?" or some shit.
You got a man.
Right. It's so Quinn kisses her, or she kisses him, and then Wade has a moment with Prince Harold, and Prince Harold's like, "If you stay, I'll make you a queen," or some shit. And then they kiss, and then Quinn does his thing of like, "Oh, whatever," and then he jumps through, and then Wade jumps through, and then the portal finally closes after like 10 hours.
Yes.
And they open up the paper that Rembrandt had given the prince, and you're thinking like it's the rest of like the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. Now, I will say that it opens up with we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. And it goes into that, and then it says, it ends with, and James Brown will forever be known or something as the godfather of soul. And then they turn to each other, Rebecca and Prince Harold, and they say, "Who's James Brown?" And then it just cuts off. That's the end of the episode.
Dumb. This is dumb.
So that's a lot. That's a lot for you to to wrap your head around. Like, what were those standout moments?
I hated it. Oh, I did like the scene with Quinn walking down the hall because, like you said, it was something different. Because I even got over like, why is the press inside the prison, like inside, not in the execution center, but you in the hallway. Like,
it's just like they pressed up.
Like, come on. So that was cool. Them taking over the TV station was too, and I was thinking, like, is this the only TV station in this world? Is it the only? But whatever. My issue with Rembrandt and Rebecca is I feel like Rembrandt is just a tool. He's a means to an end. The same way you have the sassy black friend and the token black person. It's like, this is going to be a bit of a tangent, but if you look at the spoilers for the Scream movies, but if you look at the Scream movie, this last one, and you look at who was actually the villain, if you look at their filmography, you as an audience member, you're not conditioned to see them as a villain. So when they're revealed as a villain, you're like, oh shit, okay, that makes sense. They're a villain. You've subverted my expectations. I feel like that's what they're doing with Rembrandt. Is like, we got all this talk about resistance and fight the power and whatever else, but if the sole black man, if you can be more down than he is, then you must be legitimate, as like a shorthand for the audience almost. Because in what world is Rebecca more quote unquote well, in this world apparently, than Rembrandt is? But it feels like he's just being used as, again, comic relief, or he's this tool to, like, this shorthand to get you to feel a certain way about something in relation to black bodies. Because also what was going on with black people in America in the 90s, I keep going back to Rodney King, but there were so many other events and happenings. But that's what it feels like to me. And even if that wasn't the intention, to sit down and say, as long as we are butting up against Rembrandt, you will look tough, it's a subconscious thing as well. That's the way it's playing out for me. I hope he gets a bit more serious or a little less funny or comical soon, but if not, I'll take what I get. The thing that pissed me off with this episode, with everything that they've done, is this, I think you mentioned earlier in this episode, showing that America is the center of everything.
Yeah.
Because saving the prince is fine, but who's to say that the American Constitution and the way we run things now is adequate enough for this world? Like, what? There's so many things that unfolded that got us where we are now. So to be like, here go the Bill of Rights, and here's what I was like, well, he's not a terrible person. We can see that the prince, albeit a little silly at times, is not a terrible person. He believes in justice. He wants, to do right by the people. He could have come with his own rules. Like, this ain't like penicillin. Penicillin, I'm like, yeah, there's a need. No, this is just, so I was like, this is weird. And Rembrandt not, again, mentioning race. Like, the whole James Brown thing was so weird to me when you had an opportunity to really dig it. But I guess that's his only personality trait, is that he loves music. And that's it.
Yeah.
My maybe last big critique is why it would have been a better story if there was a love, will they, won't they, between Rebecca and the prince. If we swap that out for this bullshit with Wade and Quinn and their constantly resetting love arc that I don't even care about anymore, because if the prince is willing to make Wade his queen, cut out all the Bill of Rights stuff, just tell him to do better by this world. And what better queen to have than a king with power, who's a nice, sweet guy who wants the best for the world, and his queen who willing to cut a motherfucker head off, burn their own fucking facility down in the name of justice. Like, so I don't know.
I mean, that actually is perfect. That I had never thought about that, because definitely you run into the same issues of, like, okay, we only got 40 minutes to develop a relationship between them. But even if it's not a relationship, you could build a partnership between somebody who's running the resistance and somebody who is like, he's a part of the monarchy. So, and the suggestion is at the end, and I think it's kind of somewhat there, but it's kind of drowned out by like them having to make a James Brown joke, was that they're going to try to work together. But imagine like if she, like you said, if she had taken Wade's place of possibly seeing this guy. And the funny thing is I'm reading this series, it's a trilogy called The Devoured Worlds, and I just finished the second book of that. The second book of the series. And one of the key things about it is there's this guy who is a part of this ruling elite family, and this resistance fighter who, and this is not a spoiler because it's like, it's heavy within the summaries of these books, they fall in love. Now, albeit these are like 500-page books. You can see that, you can see it grow over time. But it's that same, it's literally what you just said. It's literally the same thing. So that would have been, but because they kept going with this, like, are we going to make Quinn jealous? Are we going to make Wade jealous? Because they're in this love, not even love triangle, it's this love duology or whatever. So it just that would have worked better and would have at least left you feeling that there's going to be some progress, because you have these two opposing sides, because now they don't have the sheriff, as this, like, this wall, this preventative wall of these two sides kind of working together. So that's the episode. And we don't see them actually slide to a world. We just get the James Brown joke. Final thoughts. I mean, like, I guess, let's, like, now that we've actually spoken, you kind of talked through, like, what are your overall thoughts of the episode?
There were some good parts, but this would not be my favorite. I don't even know, if we're looking at the first 5, if I was forced to revisit one, I don't know that this would be. I don't know if this would be it. It's like, I think, to your point, a lot of the stuff that happened here we've done before. Like, we've done the person captured, save the person. We got the evil. I can take the professor in this one because we didn't see him being evil in the other, so I can accept that. But like, a lot of stuff was just like, bro, we've done this. We've done this with Fever, even though there wasn't a political resistance, it was like a medical resistance. Like, we've done this. So by this time, even if I had to watch it in order, I still feel like, okay, well, damn, let's copy and paste these episodes over and over. It was a good episode. I just feel like it was lacking. Because even if we're looking at like so Fever, everybody had a role to play. In Rembrandt, though it was like towards the end, the last one to be infected had a role. Let me get to the facility, blah blah. He didn't do a whole lot of acting up. But then in the Soviet world, we got everybody doing something in this big battle. And in the first two, it was the opening. So even if they didn't do a lot, which they did, they were the main people. Like we've gotten worlds where people are doing a lot. In this one, it felt like it all fell on the shoulders to the professor, which I'm fine with that. Because if we're going to have a character-centered episode, each person gets their own whatever, fine. But for Quinn to be public enemy number one, and for Wade to have this like love affair, these scenes with the prince and whatever else, and Rembrandt to just be like there, I was like, this ain't my favorite. This ain't my favorite. So all in all, it was good. It was adequate, but not my favorite.
Yeah.
No.
Is I I was talking to my wife, and one of the things that I've mentioned this before, I appreciate going through the show with somebody else, with like new perspective, and there were things that always kind of didn't sit well with when it came specifically to Rembrandt. We keep saying this, and it's like it's kind of an apologetic thing at this point, and I think I don't probably need to keep saying this. None of this is any reflection on Clement Derek. Nothing. It's the material. And if any of the former writers of the show want to, I mean, that would be great. That would be a great episode. Like, come on. But there are several instances that we've seen in these episodes where the brother is just treated like the comedic relief, and you kind of get tired. You get tired of that. And there are moments where it probably would have worked to have had him kind of be more involved or speak up. And like you said, that episode where that the woman told him, like, yo, you ain't ready to ride, we are. And I'm just like, okay, no, you don't say that to the only Black person on the team. And it's just bad optics. So that being said, the point that you made as far as this just being the same, like there are elements of this which are just like similar to what's come before. We're noticing a trend, you're noticing a theme or whatever, and you just kind of get tired of it or whatever. So it's just like it seems repetitive in certain ways. So this is definitely not one of like my favorites, of the first season. So just after talking it out, that's kind of where I'm at. I guess before we go to the rankings, who are your favorite and least favorite characters of the episode?
Favorite was the sheriff. I like that version of the professor simply because he's so different, but so much the same as far as intellect. But when he was like at the press conference, we're gonna kill him. I was like, what? Wait, you're not even acting like. I mean, we're gonna have, of course, if we're found that he's guilty. I was like, bro, that's a lot. And then in the news station, it was like, we're gonna somehow, he should be dead. I was like, God damn, this man is about some shit. So I didn't like that because even though he was just as intelligent as the professor, at least it appeared that way. Those are two totally different people. Unlike, well, I won't say unlike. I think that's unfair. But Quinn in the pilot with the Quinn who was sliding from the pilot, I feel like he did a good job, but this was phenomenal. So the sheriff specifically is my favorite. Least favorite, I think I'm gonna have to go with Quinn. I think I have to go with Quinn because even with my critique about the Prince, I I, I think he was a better character this episode. So it had to be Quinn because like, what are you're just running around fucking shit up. At least no woman died in this episode, but like, who's to say it won't happen next time? So yeah, no, he's my least favorite. Quinn's a villain. Quinn's a villain. Yeah, no.
So I'm just going to piggyback off of yours for like favorite character and just say like the sheriff. That was my favorite performance of the episode. And I'm pretty sure like what's the actor John Rhys Davies or John Rhys, like he just had fun with it. Very ruthless. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna do something that's against the norm or against the grain for like my not favorite character, the music. The music in those two scenes, the music in those two scenes. Like I said, I don't have anything against 90s music. That's what I was born on. That's what I was raised on.
Yeah.
I was born on like 80s music, like 80s music, but I was raised on like 90s music and from the 80s. But that stock, I don't know. Like I know it's like it cost a lot to get the rights to this music to like anything that's, but this was just bad.
Yeah.
So my not favorite characters were the worst character of this episode was the music in those two scenes. Favorite and least favorite scene.
A favorite scene. It's hard because I didn't really. Well, this kind of with my favorite character, I'll probably say the sheriff, specifically doing his show and then calling up those people, because it was something about like I didn't consider, this isn't a room full of people, and it just didn't enter my mind. And so seeing the manipulation, not just in let's kill whoever, but also in like your public, like I always like the political dramas, the House of Cards, the Game of Thrones, the Scandal, where you see someone doing the thing to manipulate public opinion, and that I thought was like well done. Because I feel like you could lift that entire scene and redo it now, and it would exactly how, maybe like change some of the devices, but like it would make sense. So I think political stuff like that is kind of timeless. So that was my favorite. I say that's my favorite scene. My least favorite, probably Quinn's speech, only because like the resistance just. And again, I know it's the 90s. It's like you could have just gave them black leather jackets. Like they always feel like just a neighborhood watch. They just felt, and then Rebecca, who lives in the bad part of town, but like
Rebecca grew up with that gun.
Oh my god, I'd say that, bro. And like her, why even give her a boyfriend in jail? Like
right, she didn't need one. She
is her own boyfriend, but that would have to be my least favorite because I feel like not even like dissing Quinn because I'm not a fan, but in other episodes where they have those rally the troops speeches and moments, this fell flat for me. The only plus to this episode, he didn't get a woman killed. That's about it.
Rebecca said, "No, that's not happening to me."
Yeah, she said, "I heard about Wade, double gang Wade." Yeah,
Commander Wade.
Oh my god.
He's like, "I'm not about to be a martyr." My favorite scene was them at the hotel. I mean, just to like choose something different, like because they were trying to be smart.
Yeah,
they were trying to be smart. They were like, "Let's just chill. Let's just hang out here for like 6 days and we'll be good." I think my least favorite scene, probably would be, I don't know, like Rembrandt complaining all the time. I'm tired of it. I am tired of it. Like I don't necessarily, what you say, behoove him of being upset about being dragged into this, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just like the only person on the squad that they have just being upset about the just everything, and and it doesn't do it doesn't it's not a good look for the only person of color on the on the team.
Mm-mm.
So those are my two. Yep. So ratings, out of 10 copies of Arturo's biography, I'm always right. What was the
Right.
time? It was
Like, I want that book. I don't even care. I want that
yeah.
book.
Um, I think he said I'm always right, but out of 10 copies of that, which is what's your ranking of this episode?
4.
Or
Mm-hmm. 4. I was gonna go 6, but I was like, nah, 4.
too close to 7.
Yeah, nah. This is 4.
I think this is so uh, 5. Yeah, I'll probably go 5. I'll probably go
Mm-hmm.
5.
That's
So
fair.
yeah.
Uh, Rembrandt's hair is bothering me, and it's not the style. Because I'm like, I know even in 2022, 2023, we have black actors with issues dealing with hair when it comes to
Okay.
being. So I'm not even like, it's not a
Yeah.
dig like, oh, the style is ugly, but it's just like, bruh, we get new growth, our hair, like stuff happens. What I'm sick of seeing this thing, but again, that's not
I
him,
mean,
but
everybody keeping the same cut over
I don't
across these
know,
worlds.
man. The professors look, what? Okay, maybe that's a me thing. I'm not. I strike that from the record, not the recording, but the record.
For the
Uh,
record.
I don't know, man. This is
I mean, that was one thing we did talk about. Like they ain't carrying no backpacks. It's no
like,
fresh change of clothes. It's
like,
just,
why not? Like, that would be just all go rob Target and put some stuff or use that currency
I
from
mean,
wherever you are.
or have them like one episode, everybody's like has Wade is her hair is long,
Mm-hmm.
Quinn got shaggy hair.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody looks unkempt. It's just like
Like,
I don't know, like I don't think that we should get like so real to the point where it's just like, oh shit, we ain't bathed in days.
no,
Like
yeah, we can forget that.
we don't need
I don't,
that. Like,
we're trying to go that far.
but it is that thing of like you you just want some type of like continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Like these people are struggling
Yes.
as they jump. That's why I think I was happy that they were like, okay, this is how they got the money, this is how they got the food.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of the episode, I would have been like, let's fill the backpack full with the food that we took.
Man, because we don't know where the fuck we're going. Man, oh my
We
God.
don't know. Like we might go to a world where there's a big ass drought.
Yeah.
All the plant life and vegetation, and it's just. But this does tie into the episodic vibe of like the 90s, and
Yeah. You're not wrong.
I don't know.
So,
With all that said, I think everybody should go to 133art.com and pick up
yes.
the first issue of The Crossing, where we tackle such questions when it comes to multiverse hopping adventures. That's 133art.com.
Yes.
Pick up The Crossing, issue number 1. Co-created by yours truly, John McGuire and Sean Hill.
Come on.
And yep, that's it will that I will drop that every episode now.
Do it. Do it. Because yes, if y'all want to see in Sliders is not terrible, but when you're reviewing it and you are more critical because there has to be some analysis, there has to be some discussion about it, you're gonna see the chinks in the armor. And boy, was this a big one. So yes, check out the freaking the freaking Crossing for something that's done much better. Again, giving them grace because it's the 90s, but my God, if I could be tasked with writing this for 2024, I would love it.
That reboot would be amazing. Like the reboot, I think like and this will be something maybe in the future or whatever, but like the sci-fi shows of now, like the crews that, the writers and the producers and the showrunners and just the creative, everybody. I think this series would kill, like, in a good way. Like, people are ready for it. They've been introduced to the idea of the multiverse.
Come on.
Especially with like What If, and just the parallel hopping and parallel worlds, concept.
Yeah.
I am surprised nobody has tried to reboot this.
That makes no
and
sense.
it's just weird. It is weird to me that this hasn't happened as of yet. So
yeah,
we got a Matlock reboot. We got
that's I'm like, who's in these rooms deciding what? Like, there's a Lincoln Lawyer series with like 3 seasons. I'm like, what?
We're gonna have a 227 reboot before this.
I mean, even that, I'm like, no, what the heck is this? Whatever. But yeah, this is definitely. And I'll even say, I think if you're going to look at a reboot, this probably is the best type of thing, because one, this is low budget. Like, the budget itself is going to how you decide to disguise the world. Like the jumping, the sliding, rather, excuse me. Our CGI and FX and shit is so much better now. That can't even cost that much. But like the actual world that you inhabit, man, just go shoot at Atlantic Station in Atlanta and call that San Francisco of the future. Like, bro, that is not, like, it's not difficult.
I mean, like, they can go back to Vancouver. So the most recent example that I will tell, that I can give is like the Arrowverse. Not that those were fictional cities, but the thing was, so like, for instance, and I'll make this short, Legends of Tomorrow, they were a time traveling TV series.
Yeah.
They time traveled. And not saying that every episode was filmed in like Vancouver, but it was like around either that or Toronto.
Yeah.
But I know for sure, like, especially on the Flash, because they would jump forward to the future and they would just make present day Vancouver or Toronto, wherever they filmed at, look like the future.
Yeah.
You would see some like CG signs, or you would see people dressed in like crazy outfits or whatever. So if you wanted to get like insane with the concept now, you could do it in a nondescript city, which could stand in for San Francisco, but of another universe. But no, like that, the problem that this show later on had, one of the ones, is that they moved production from here, like I'm in Vancouver, from I'm in the Southeast, y'all. I'm in Georgia. So, but they moved production from Vancouver to Los Angeles, the same fucking backlot. And it was like it was a poor stand-in for when you see the backlot, Rain, you're gonna know you're going to this place. You have seen it before. And it was like, because they were trying to get, Fox wanted to have cut down on production costs, but also have it closer to where the studios were at.
Okay.
And one of the things that I always felt about Vancouver when they filmed up there is that it was a good stand-in for just being this generic city where you could film on location.
Yeah.
And it just worked. Like, we saw that with the 4400, where Vancouver stood in for Seattle.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shit, Seattle to me. People ain't been there. And before I went to Seattle, I was like, this, works for me. And then I went out in there. I was like, okay, it's rains all the time. It just looks very temperate. It's very laid back. So all that said, this show would kill now. Like, you could get at least like 5 seasons out of this.
I agree.
10 episodes apiece. And oh my god, I would want to be in the writer's room. I would love to write the comic book for this.
Yes.
But yeah. That was our rant about.
No, this is a good show. Even with me rating this 4, this is still like, I would recommend this show. Like, so
I mean, it's still a fun show. It's just like you see where it can improve. We have fun looking at it. I mean, like, I always tell you, this is one of my comfort watches. Like, this is one of the things that I will watch once a year, in addition to the Star Trek shows. Those can be goofy. Like, I watched some shit on Voyager the other day where I was just like, okay, no. But I'm not going to stop watching it. So.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. This is fast becoming one of mine, my go tos as well. I'm gonna wait till we're done with first season and then maybe kind of watch it all back.
Yeah.
Just kind of in the background and see how I feel about it. Because a lot of shows where I do that, I kind of know I'll look up, oh, that's episode 3 when this happened and whatever else. But yeah, phenomenal show. I'm enjoying it. And shit, listeners, y'all let us know what's going on with you. Those of you who are watching along with us, what's your favorite everything? Favorite character, favorite scene, least favorite character, least favorite scene, and what are your thoughts on the show? The show just as a whole, being of the 90s, keep that in mind. What are your thoughts? And would this stand to? Would you support a reboot? I'll say that. Shit, that's it, man. How can we support you and run up your numbers on stuff?
You can visit robertkjeffrey.com, robertkjeffrey.com, and as always, robertk.jeffrey on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky now, but I don't know like what my handle is on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like it's complicated. Why is it complicated? This is the worst. It's not even live. Yeah, and I was there before the mad rush.
Yeah.
RJ Writer. Yeah, RJ Writer is how people can pull me up on Blue Sky.
Okay, that'll work. And yeah, I just followed you because I was part of the mass migration. I was part of the group that was like, let's get over there. So yeah, mine is carefreeblurred.bsky.social and then whatever else. But yeah, no, same. Of course, if y'all listening or watching this, you can just jump in the feed and find something else. Be looking out for us for the next episode. And for those of you watching along, it's episode 12 or episode 1 or maybe 16. Even though there's only 10 episodes in season 1, I think it's episode 34. No, it is Summer of Love. Summer of Love is up next.
Yeah.
Which thank y'all. Use that hashtag STTMpod. And until next time, stay carefree, nerdy, geeky, and don't slide without a book bag full of supplies. Hell. All right.